Good evening. May I request everyone to please be seated? Welcome, Lakshmi. No, Mrs. Sanjeev.
Sure.
Sorry for that. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Mr. Godrej, if you could please start the proceedings, that would be great.
So a very good evening to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for being with us for this Ananta Leadership Award dinner. And on behalf of Ananta family, I extend a very cordial welcome to all of you. And thank you for joining us this evening. It is our first time that we are having an annual dinner and the launch of the Ananta Leadership Award, and to raise a toast to Mr. Rahul Bajaj. And I thank Rahul for accepting the Ananta Leadership Award, and we are delighted and honored that he is the first recipient of this award. As many of you must have already noticed, Rahul is not with us this evening. Rahul could not join us because of his health having been somewhat disturbed over the last few days. And his doctors have advised him not to travel out of Pune. And so we are extremely disappointed, of course, that he is unable to be with us this evening. But he has specially requested his son, Sanjeev, to accept the award on his behalf. Thank you, Sanjeev, for being with us this evening. This evening is about celebrating Ananta's journey, and it's equally about society and its needs for values-based leadership and dialogue. We are in a Dickinson era. It is the best of times and the worst of times. We have broken the frontiers of science and are standing on the edge of a new world, which by the logic of our journey should have led to utopia. But sadly, it is not all we hoped it would be. There has never been a time more in need of value-based leadership and dialogue. It was to address this need that the Aspen India was set up after the signing of an MOU between the Aspen Institute USA and the Confederation of Indian Industry in 2004. The intent was to set up a non-partisan organization on the Aspen model of leadership and dialogue to engage with the best minds on the problems and promises of India. The Institute focuses on creating leaders who have the ability and intellect to reach a consensus on the important issues facing us and catalyze the process of change. It has become evident that there is no want of such men and women in the country. But there is a definite need for reaching out to them and igniting the potential for change. In 2013, therefore, Aspen India was split into two twin organizations to broaden its field of effectiveness: Ananta Aspen Center and the Ananta Center. the mandate of both centers continues to be the same: to foster change through the values-based leadership and dialogue. Today, we have 6 leadership programs that work to build a diverse cadre of such leaders who are propelled by a set of strongly held values. Our programs reach out to high school students, college students, and women from all the cities of India, and officers of the uniformed services. And in fact, our oldest program, the Kamal Nayan Bajaj Fellowship, is named after Mr. Rahul Bajaj's father. I am happy to see that we have a large number of the Bajaj Fellows in the room with us today, and may I now request them all to please stand up. Thank you for all that you do to make our nation a better place. We make a special effort to include participants from Kashmir and the Northeast and other sensitive areas of the country, and also raise funds to provide scholarships to those who would otherwise not be able to benefit from these programs. We have also gone international with a leadership program for the youth from ASEAN countries. I will not dwell further on the leadership programs because James Abraham, who heads the leadership committee of Ananta, will step here shortly to take you through them. I will, however, touch upon the other critical aspects of our work: dialogue at the national and international level. At the national level, we have important conversations on issues related to gender, artificial intelligence, technology, and matters of social interests such as the economic development of Kashmir. At the international level, we engage with more than 8 long-standing international Track 2 dialogues with countries such as the USA, Japan, Korea, Singapore, Israel, and China. All our dialogues lead to what we all aspire for: a simple and a better world that has fundamental rights. Finally, an organization is its people. We have passionate men and women working to push the Ananta vision further. Our trustees have played a great role in being ambassadors of this vision. I can safely say that we would not be here without them. Many of them are in this room today, and I would like to thank each and every one of them. Ambassador Sati Lamba, Chairman, Ananta Aspen Center; Mr. Naresh Gujral; Tarun Das; Naushad Forbes; Vipin Sondhi; Sayyeda Imam; Chandrajit Banerjee; Anuj Podar, and Sanjay Chabra. Many, like Naushad and Anuj Podar, have flown in from other cities, which only illustrate how invested each of our trustees is in the vision of Ananta. Thank you once again for being here in support of this vision. I now invite James Abraham, who chairs the Ananta Leadership Committee, to tell you a little more about the leadership programs. Thank you.
Members of the Board of Trustees, ladies and gentlemen, Kieran warned me that there's no way that I could give you a full, clear view of the fellowship programs, the leadership programs at the Ananta Center, so we've created a little video for you.
Well, the relevance of a values-based leadership program is really to be able to look at the various values that which are considered really important for you when you have to take decisions on anything.
fellowship, I would say, is a journey of self-discovery. It's more about listening to yourself, your inner voice, seeing where you stand on profound issues of society, of nation, of government.
What the fellowship did to me has been a miracle. It gave me access to some of the best minds and hearts in the country and across the world that not only helped me with insights, but also left me feeling a lot more secure about my own dreams.
It's not just about thoughts, it's about action. And in fact, ILI process allowed us to become action leaders.
It helped me to look further inwards and outward, and scalability, which I would have never imagined without the fellowship program.
Leadership is not one of the issues that people mostly, say you can teach leadership, because mostly people say you're born with leadership qualities. So this program actually intended on building this ideology that you can actually learn how to be a leader.
It's a very balanced program. That's why I chose T-cells over anything else.
Emerging Leaders Program is a program dedicated to young people run by the Ananta Aspen Center with a view to engaging them deeply in current contemporary issues.
Ananta Aspen Leadership Program helped me to understand where I stand in the role of performing the duties of a citizen.
One thing that we did in our readings that really inspired me was that leaders cannot be fearful of infamy and consequences.
It's a privilege for me to stand here and share the story of our leadership programs, and also to share the story of Mr. Rahul Bajaj and the role he played over the years through this program. As you can see, we've had a lot of fellows who've come out of this, 136 Bajaj fellows and Out of that, over 400 other fellowships. Looking around the world at Aspen fellowships, India now counts amongst the largest number of fellows in any one country anywhere in the world. And that's a testament to the role, especially, that the Bajaj Fellows play. Every one of these programs you see came out of a passion and an interest from one of the fellows taking a leadership to roll it out. And beyond the fellowships, you also saw the conversations at the Ideas Festival and the Banyan Tree dinners reaching over 1,000 people. All this started with the Kamal Nayan Bajaj Fellows. But fellowship is more than seminars. It's more than conversation. It's more than friendships. Our reach is far more than the number of fellows that you see here. For example, Rupa, she exemplifies the idea of action, because leadership is not just about conversation. She launched a girls' education venture that has now reached over 2,000 girls and continues to grow. Govind, another one of our fellows, is now the best source in India to debunk fake news. Manoj, who heads Nandi Foundation, launched one of the world's best coffees, and that may sound like an odd venture until you hear that this coffee is grown by 25,000 farmers who were once under the thumb of Naxal terrorists, and his venture has completely rejuvenated the area. You saw Hasina working in the Northeast. She has rescued over 70,000 people from human trafficking, trained over 30,000 law enforcement personnel, and has now reached over 400,000 people in that community. Every year, this fellowship launches new ventures. They continue to expand. In the process to date, we've touched almost 1 million lives and growing. All this would not have been possible had it not been for Mr. Bajaj's support. At a critical time, when there was little evidence of what this fellowship could do, he stepped up to support us. He lent us his father's name, a gentleman who is the exemplary leader of someone who moved from success to significance. And Mr. Bajaj has been a constant source of encouragement. And all of you who know Mr. Bajaj know you can never escape his encouragement. If he encourages you, you have to get it done. Throughout his life and in his role as Ananta Aspen, Mr. Bajaj exemplifies one of the most important calls to leadership. The call to step into the gap that others leave. The call to take stands when others shy away. That is what he did for the fellowship, and that is the example that we all try to emulate. So on behalf of all the fellows, we thank Mr. Bajaj for everything he's done for us, and we are proud that he is the first recipient of the Ananta Leadership Award. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy your salad and the soup that's on its way. And then we'll continue with the program after that. Thank you. sorry to, wow, apologies. I'm sorry to disturb what looks like a great conversation at each table, but let's proceed with the program for the evening. Mr. Godrej, if I may please request you. Thank you.
So I'm back again here to announce the Ananta Leadership Award. And, it's always exciting to unveil something designed to bring about change, which is why I feel particularly happy to introduce the newly instituted Ananta Leadership Award to all of you this evening. We are fast becoming a one-dimensional achievers society, running a race where we are primarily defined by the tangibles we have achieved. It is a mad and thoughtless race towards shifting goalposts, and the leaders are seen as the ones who reach there before the others. The consequences are there for all to see. The Ananta Leadership Award has been instituted to shift the leadership narrative from just reaching the goalpost ahead of others to how the race is run. The Ananta Leadership Award recognizes people who run differently and in the process make the difference. The award is not just meant to honor the recipient, but also serve as a vision for the kind of leadership that the society is in a dire need of. It is my proud privilege to confer the first Ananta Leadership Award on Mr. Rahul Bajaj. Many of you in this room know him personally and professionally, but there are few in this room and outside who do not know of him. India has many business leaders who do India proud. This includes Mr. Bajaj, of course. But what sets him apart is that if you were to remove the prefix business, he would still qualify as a leader that India needs. Not because he contributes to the economy, but because he contributes its DNA and helps make it stronger. Business is a means to an end, and in the case of Mr. Rahul Bajaj, the end is a stronger society. It is easy to understand this outlook given his upbringing. Rahul was born into a business family with a strict Gandhian outlook. His grandfather, Jamnalal, was considered to be the fifth son of Mahatma Gandhi. Everything that the Bajaj patriarch earned from business was invested in the freedom movement. His father, Kamal Nayan, opted for the ashrams of Gandhi and Bhave over conventional school, and it reflected in the way he carried out his business. Growing up, Rahul therefore saw no contradiction between business and the larger good and worked easily towards both. For those who knew him well, Rahul is, and to quote him, no saint. He is a man of integrity, with the refreshing habit of calling a spade a spade. He does good without wanting to look good or sound good doing it. It earns him brickbats and bouquets in equal measure, but it certainly does not deter him from carrying on nonetheless. I haven't spoken about his business achievements, not just because it doesn't need highlighting, but because that would limit the boundaries of why we are giving him this award. This award has been specially designed in the form, you can see it there, in the form of a three-sided, fluttering, organic, abstract flame, cast in brass and 24-karat gold-plated. Gold, of course, is a precious and noble metal with a warm hue, imparting a special character to the flame. The step cylinder base is black granite and imparts a solid and strong character to the piece. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bajaj is receiving the award for what he has achieved and also how he has achieved all that he has. May I now invite Mr. Naresh Gujral, Member of Parliament and Trustee, Ananta Aspen Center, and a very close friend of Rahul, to give us his address and remarks.
Distinguished friends, what do I say about a friend who's a legend in his lifetime? Like many of you, I have been an admirer of Rahul Bajaj's since the time I started practicing as a chartered accountant. And what struck me about him was that even in the days of the license quota Raj, there was a man who thought that the customer is king. If you recall, and many of you would, that famous Vespa scooter for which there used to be a 35-year waiting list, only because he gave a good product and he didn't want to cheat his customer. That was his ethics. Thereafter, unfortunately, the country went through a phase when democracy and all the institutions were suspended. And there was a lot of pressure on many businessmen to compromise. But Mr. Bajaj was one man who refused to compromise. He paid a price, but he refused to compromise. Such were his value systems, and those value systems remain till today. I really got to know him once we became colleagues in Parliament. And over endless cups of coffee in the Central Hall, mind you, Parliament didn't work even those days, he would give me gyan on every subject, from politics to business to family values to how to keep a joint family together. And sometimes this would continue in the evenings at our home, but his one condition used to be, don't have more than 10 or 12 people so that everybody can sit down and have a proper meal and have a proper conversation. In Parliament, whenever he spoke, he was heard in rapt attention. And he spoke his mind. That is Rahul Bajaj, a man who has the courage of his conviction and the conviction of his courage. I've been very fortunate to be considered his friend, and over the years learned so much from him, the values that he stands for. Many of you know how he has contributed so liberally to causes that he believes in. Although he keeps saying that I'm a Kanjus Marwadi, and next day he will sign a check for crores of rupees for something that he believes in and something that he feels would make India a better place to live in. I don't want to prolong it too much because you know Rahul doesn't like long conversations. But to sum it up and to describe Rahul Bajaj, there is a Raymond's ad which says the complete man, and that is what Rahul is. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Naresh. Really appreciate your personal and warm remarks. We have another very close friend of Rahul here, Anami Roy. He's been Director General of Police in Maharashtra and had an illustrious career, and a very close friend of Rahul. So may I now request Anami to say a few words.
Ladies and gentlemen, I really thank from the core of my heart, Jamshed, Kiran, and Ananta Center for having invited me here for this very special occasion. We are missing Rahul immensely today at this event celebrating the leader he is, the leaders he has created, and the companies which are true leaders in their sectors. And most of all, as a thought leader. Someone who championed meaningful and responsible businesses and giving back well before they became pithy buzzwords. Rahul has several well-deserved awards and recognitions from government, the Padma Bhushan, from the media and other public and private bodies in India and abroad. But I'm sure this one is very special to him, coming from the famous Ananta Aspen Institute, created in India at the initiative of his close friend Tarun Das, and in which many of you here, including Rahul, were so closely involved right from the beginning, particularly as this grooms, nurtures leaders. The choice of Rahul as the inaugural, the first awardee, is especially apt. I am sure you have many more deserving people, leaders, abundantly suitable for the award, many of them around here, and they will be chosen by the jury in the years to come. The invitation for this event said, Rahul is summed up in 2 words, Hamara Bajaj. In many ways, so many ways, this is true. Bajaj is our very own indigenous, homegrown engineering company that has made us proud and has now become the world's favorite Indian. Actually, all set to replace the Hamara Bajaj. But more than that, Rahul as an individual is a peerless friend. And most of all, he sought to make the Bajaj corporate group one with the larger community, nation building with its legacy of service and of giving back. It is this dimension I would like to emphasize briefly. The values which Jamna Lalji, as the adopted 5th son of Mahatma Gandhi, imbibed and incorporated in his business in his time, has been internalized, lived and practiced for 3 generations, now led by Rahul. And he has inculcated these in the next generation as well, which we are seeing and will continue to see in years ahead. They practice the highest level of integrity, ethics in business practices, complete compliance to laws and rules. Of course, there was a price to pay, as Naresh rightly mentioned. Often, repeatedly, they have had a price to pay. That they managed to scale to such heights of success is perhaps because of these principles and not in spite of it. And this is a testament to their principles and maybe a sterling example for many other businesses. As Gandhiji once said, if we can change ourselves, the tendencies in the world would also change. We need not wait to see what others do. Rahul and the businesses he created have always led by example, regardless of what occurred around them. In some ways, Rahul is the pioneer of corporate governance in India. He headed the first committee set up by CII in the late 90s, 97, 98, and gave the first report at a time when it was not very common in our corporate lexicon. As individual, family, and corporate group, Rahul and the Bajaj Group have stayed close to Gandhian values. Through Jamnalal Bajaj and Janki Devi Bajaj foundations, they work for the upliftment for the rural poor and the marginalized communities in a very significant and sustained way. The annual Jamnalal Bajaj Awards for promoting Gandhian values in 4 different categories, including promoting Gandhian values overseas, foreign countries, is very unique in many ways. Being on the jury, I can dare say that through the process and the rigor, they championed such deserving gems who otherwise remain off limelight despite selfless service to community. With the qualifications he acquired and from the prestigious institutions that he did from, extremely bright student, an economics honors from the St. Stephen's College, many of his ilk believe the only college, a law degree to boot, and an MBA from Harvard Business School are no mean achievements by any standard, and in an era 50 years ago. After all this elite education, when he joined the family business to take care of the family fledgling industry, Bajaj Auto, he decided to stay in Akurdi village, 27 kilometers from Pune, which itself was then a small cantonment pensioners city. And he made Akurdi his only home. Now, 50 years later, he and his family still live there. All his children, also it was industries like Bajaj and others who really have made Pune become the bustling metro that it is today. Sanjeev is here. Rajiv and Sanjeev, Rahul's children, they all went to the campus Bajaj school. They went to the College of Engineering, University of Pune by public transport or traveled by scooter or motorbike. I mean to say Rahul really walks the talk. Or rather, if I put it the other way, the too talkative Bajaj, Rahul, does not talk about this, but really walks it all right. Rahul's intellectual curiosity and quest for learning is unending. Even at this young or half-ripe age of 80, he is always an enthusiastic learner. On the rare occasion, he may know a little less on a subject, he makes it a point to read voraciously, be it on a business, technology, or medical issue. I recall when his wife, Rupa, was to go for a cardiac surgery, Rahul studied so much on this, and he would almost talk like a cardiac surgeon to people like us who won't even understand, but that's what Rahul is. I recall John F. Kennedy said once, leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. It is Rahul's willingness and capacity to learn that makes him the leader he is. Rahul is simultaneously operating at two levels. One, he's a big picture guy, a visionary, a strategic thinker. He has created in his own lifetime big and successful businesses. Bajaj Auto, from a small company with 3 crore turnover making 10,000 Vespa, then Hamara Bajaj, now the late Hamara Bajaj scooters, then becoming the largest manufacturers of two-wheelers in India, three-wheelers in the world, now efficiently run by his son Rajiv. They make 5 million two-wheelers annually, export to over 70 countries, by far the biggest exporters of two-wheelers and three-wheelers. It was his vision, it was Rahul's vision 10 years ago to demerge the company into 4, Bajaj Auto, Bajaj Finance, FinServ, and Bajaj Holding, taking the group from less than 50,000 crore 10 years ago to the India's number 3 business house, over 350,000 crore market cap today. Sanjeev, who is here, has created, post this demerger, the most valuable and successful financial services companies in the shortest possible time in Bajaj Finance, the gold standard in the marketplace, and Bajaj FinServ, including the 2 insurance companies. At another level, Rahul has a tremendous eye and attitude for details. Nothing escapes his attention. I happen to serve on a couple of his boards, and it amazes me no end that at this stage in his life as a non-executive chairman, he every time would surprise his own people by pointing out the minutest of details which everyone would have missed. Nothing short of perfection passes Rahul's muster. Not many may know that Rahul was a champion boxer in his school and college days. Boxing, post-college, boxing, of course, stopped. But in life thereafter, Rahul continued to roll his punches only verbally, but equally sharp and effective at every single opportunity. What Rahul is most known for, as very aptly put by Naresh, no nonsense, forthrightness, and speaking truth to power. I guess a very rare occurrence in our current times. Rahul not even willing to make space for our Vedic saying, Satyam bruyat, priyam bruyat, na bruyat satyam apriyam. Don't speak the truth if it is unpleasant, if it is bitter. Rahul won't spare. The captain of school and college has long been the captain and the voice of industry and business, projected issues on national and international forum without pulling his punches, and led from the front for many years. While I am missing Rahul, in some ways, it is perhaps easier for me to speak on such an occasion in his absence. Generally, when together, both us, argumentative Indians, argue a lot, not often on the same side, not necessarily most amicably, but amidst fun and laughter. I can see many around here are friends of Rahul for decades, many longer than me. His friendship keeps us on our toes with his sharp wit, inquisitive and questioning mind, and capacity to argue. We must empathize with each other. But this too is a testament to his leadership. He never walks alone, but walks tall, both literally and figuratively. I believe Ananta Center runs this program, one in which IPS officers are involved, my erstwhile fraternity, and another one for young students, school and college, who are taken to Wardha, very close to both Rahul and me, and Gandhiji's abode for 17 long years during the final phases of the freedom movement. Rahul's native place. I used to be a young SP of Wardha in Vinobaji's last days, and now I do some non-profit. Through my non-profit, I work to support the farmers' widows in Wardha and the region for supporting them with livelihoods. Lots to say on Rahul, but I am sure he won't excuse me for even what I have said. I will deal that with him. I join you all in felicitating Rahul and raising a toast for him. Thank you.
Thank you, Anami. It was really a very heartfelt tribute to Rahul. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we now have a film that we will show on Rahul.
If I may say so, Bajaj Auto's EBITDA 20%, EBITDA is 20%,
is the highest in the automotive sector, two-wheelers and four-wheelers in the world, not India. What I said then, I've said every year since then, what I say today, and all the chairmen of all the large companies in America and Europe and Germany and everywhere say that, is I want a level playing field. Tell me a dictionary which says that an MP has to be a politician. I'm an industrialist. Those 4 years, I wouldn't have missed for anything. We should not continue to test the patience of our poor. To earn respect, we businessmen have to behave differently from the way we have been behaving till now. We must earn the trust and goodwill of our countrymen. I do seriously believe, whatever little I may have achieved during my business career, the way I handed over to first Rajiv and then all financials to the sons is not nepotism. If they were not doing a job as good or better than me, they would not be in that position. If Bajaj Auto gets into a mess, you should bail me out. I mean, a private sector can't be bailed out. It's a free market economy. Those who die must die. This is not a monopoly of politicians or bureaucrats to run this country well. India, and a very proud citizen of India, I have the right to give my views. You have a right to disagree. You have a right in turn to criticize me. But don't ask me, who am I to give you this view? I have great faith in the values of our people and the energies of our youth and our entrepreneurs.
ये ज़मीं ये आसमां, ये ज़मीं ये आसमां, हमारा कल, हमारा आज, हमारा कल, हमारा आज, बुलंद भारत की बुलंद तस्वीर, हमारा बजाज, हमारा बजाज, हमारा बजाज।
Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for the award ceremony. May I request Sanjeev to please come on stage. Mr. Godrej, sorry, but we need you once more on the stage. Ambassador Lambao, if I could request you to please join us, and Mr. Tarun Das, if you would please join us.
I think Anami has done a great job of introducing Sanjeev, but I will say a few words. And thank you, Sanjeev, for joining us today. I think your dad will be extremely happy when he sees that you've been here with us and this evening. And before I ask you to say a few words, just a few words to introduce Sanjeev. I think that the story of Bajaj Finance over the last few years is, I'm sure, one of the most remarkable stories of business enterprise and initiative. And it's just amazing, I think, for all of us to see what has happened. But knowing you and knowing Rahul, and I know that Rahul probably questioned every move of yours, but at the same time, you have achieved something remarkable. And we salute you for that. And I think, it's not that Sanjeev was named the ET Business Leader of the Year, but also he was recognized as the Entrepreneur of the Year by Ernst & Young. But I think, those of us who know Sanjeev a little bit know how passionate he is about what he does. He doesn't say very much, very unlike Rahul, but I think when he says something, we all have to listen. So thank you very much, Sanjeev, to accept this award for Rahul on our behalf, and invite you to say a few words.
Thank you, Jamshed. Good evening, friends. I realize standing here I'm a very poor substitute for my father, so I won't make any excuses about that. He's very thankful for this award, and I know he's very sorry he couldn't be here. I even tried to see if I could bring him along just for a few hours, but his health has been a little off and on, and the doctors then finally decided they didn't want him to travel at this point of time. So he regrets that. He has enjoyed his association with the Ananta Aspen Center as a trustee for many years. And as he told me, it was this objective of creating leaders with values, which drove him to accept a role as trustee for many years. I think probably from the beginning till recently. It was also because of the many people he met, including very close friends who were associated over here, including Mr. Tarun Das, Jamshed, Kiran. But as he says, keeping in mind his age, and he still continues to feel very young, he wants to do other things in his life. And that's why, from the role that he's had at work, being trustees of some of these organizations, he's slowly withdrawing himself from that. Now, standing before you today, many of you, and I can see so many familiar faces over here, have interacted with him over the years. Some of you know him almost as well as his family. Some of you know him a little less well. So I thought, let me take this opportunity to mention a few things about him, a few traits about him that we as children saw him and through our eyes. Also, when you're in the same room or the same table as him, as you know, you don't get a chance to speak, so this is my time. First, very clearly, is his aggression. And I think it was talked earlier, he was a boxing captain in school, and I can see that aggression came very early to him. So you can guess what it was for us growing up at the dinner table, because that aggression was there every day. Anything we discussed, of course, as kids, we only listened. After a while, once we got to college, we had a little voice of our own, so we started arguing. And And I must say the last few years, partly maybe because somebody up there is smiling, we've done well. We talk more, he listens a little bit more as well. But that's always been a part of him. What has always amazed me is the amount he works. Until recently, I almost feel embarrassed saying that he worked longer hours than I did. Perhaps we've grown up in another generation, we divide our time such that we spend time with the kids. I used to put my kids to bed. I don't think he ever put me to bed. But he has never left office without finishing his work for the day. And even today, very often in the week when we are all at home, we stay together. So my kids will call him up at 7:45 and say, Dada, dinner's at 8. And he will always come. But he's still there, working till 8. The other value is really his integrity and transparency. There has never been any action of his where one could question his integrity. And I'm saying this obviously as a son, so I'm biased. But of what we have seen, and that's probably one of the values that we have all grown up with. And his transparency, as many people know, is almost to a fault. Over the years, Bajaj Auto, which has been a zero-debt company for, I think, a quarter of a century now, received many proposals to get into all kinds of businesses. But he always chose to focus, and he was always clear that he would not get into any line of business where he had to take government favors. He said, I want to be able to sleep well at night. And even today, we were with the doctors a month ago, and they asked him, do you have a problem sleeping? And he said, no, I sleep very well. So he's always chosen to compete globally, compete in the consumer market, and that's why if you see our businesses are mostly consumer businesses. It's not by chance, it's very much by choice. He's always been very honest and direct. I remember as a child, I may have been 8 years old, Rajiv was about 11, and we were eating dinner, he was on the side reading, and my mother told my brother that, finish your vegetable soup. If you don't drink your soup, how will you be strong enough to run Bajaj Auto one day? And he was all of 11. And my father, he was reading, and he sprung up and came to the table and said, none of you all should ever take it for granted that you will run Bajaj Auto. We were 8 and 11. But this is his directness, this is his honesty to his role, to his profession. I remember many years later, in 2007, as Anami mentioned, I moved from Bajaj Auto to financial services. And we again stayed together. So he mentioned to me in his own direct way, he said, I'm very happy with the fact that you have chosen to create your own path. But remember now, whether the success or failure, it's all going to be yours. So you're responsible, and you will get your share of what you deserve. Fortunately, as I said, somebody up there has been smiling at us the last 10 years. The last trait is simplicity. Probably it was because I think he spent the first 8-10 years of his life growing up in Wardha and around the period that Gandhiji was there as well. When he moved to Bombay, went to the Cathedral and John Convent School, a reasonably elitist school there, he was the only kid wearing khadi. And he went to school every day in khadi. I'm assuming he got teased a lot, and his aggressive self came out, and that's what made him a boxer and a boxing captain. But as many of you know, that at heart, he's very simple. I remember a couple of years ago, we were on holiday in Europe, and he needed a new pair of shoes. So my uncle Neeraj and we said, okay, we'll take you to one of the shoe stores nearby, and there was a European shoe brand. We all know they're not cheap. He walked in, he liked a pair of shoes, and then, he just turned around to see the price. I have never seen him in such a bad mood. He just walked out. He could not believe this is what a pair of shoe costs. This was 3 or 4 years ago. Came back to Pune, went to Bata, and bought his pair of shoes. And he teases me because he knows I don't buy mine from Bata, but check his shoes out. So that's him. What he loves doing with a small group of friends, nice set of conversations, a lot of debate and mud wrestling, and we all know some tasty chaat or simple vegetarian food like that. That's the guy that I know, and once again, on his behalf, very happy, very proud to accept this award. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjeev. I think the bonus we got today was to hear you. So thank you very much for accepting the award on behalf of Rahul. And before we start our dinner, I just want to say a few words on the leadership organization of Ananta Center and Ananta Aspen Center. As you all know, it's led by Kiran. Kiran had been with CII for 30 years. In the last 8 years, she's been the CEO of Ananta Center and Ananta Aspen Center. And she and a small band of extremely dedicated professionals who have run Ananta and Ananta Center have really transformed this organization over these 8 years. So please join me in congratulating Kiran and all of them. Can we have the staff please stand up? Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, Kiran. And please continue doing the wonderful work that you and your friends in Ananta do.
I think it was lovely speeches around the table. Around the table. But what they said was about Rahul, and I know what Maneesh is going to say to this.
Ladies and gentlemen, sorry to interrupt your conversation. We have a very, very special treat for you tonight. I want to introduce Anil Srinivasan on the piano to my left. He's another one of our Kamal Nayan Bajaj fellows. I know a lot about him that I'm not allowed to share with you. Please see me after dessert. Anil is trained in both Western and Indian classical, and his interpretations of pop and jazz has won him admirers, many of us, around the world. He also runs an education mission, Rhapsody, and I had mentioned that many of our fellows run ventures that reach out and touch a lot of people around us. He's just told me recently he signed a large program through Rhapsody with the Andhra Pradesh government that's going to reach 400,000 children and expose them to music, which is quite wonderful. Anil, stage is yours.
Thank you. That wasn't half as scary as I thought it would be, so thank you very much, James. And congratulations, Kiran, for a lovely evening. And of course, it's all dedicated to Mr. Bajaj. When I asked Kiran as to what they would like me to play, they've given me a list as long as from here to Timbuktu. So in true Aspen style, I've put it into 4 seminars. The challenge of leadership, the Aspens, no, I'm just kidding. So I'm going to be playing a lot of these pieces. Mr. Godrej was kind enough to give me a couple of suggestions. I asked Sanjeev what his father would like. He said he likes to dance to 60s and 70s music, so there's going to be that. And there's 2 special dedications today, a little later. So most of the songs are songs that everybody's going to know because that's what the requests are. So feel free to sing along or hum along if the conversation that you're having at the table is not one that you want to have. And now for the strange, very strange request. So I've been playing only requests so far, which explains why it's been going in this fashion where we've included everything from the 50s to the 90s all in one shot. This is to say that it is possible when you're an Aspen Fellow. This request was specifically on Indian classical. Somebody wanted Indian classical music, so I'm going to try and play a little bit of that. But after that, we're moving to two very special dedications. So this is for you. There is a very special couple who's celebrating their anniversary today. That is Mr. and Mrs. Roy. Can we have a round of applause? I think it's their anniversary today. Mrs. Roy, I think you'll have to take a bow. And you said you like songs from the 60s and 70s. So I'm going to try. Dance. But will they dance? You'll dance, okay. We'll do... think the time has come. There's a special surprise. Somebody we know who's very dear to the Ananta Aspen family is celebrating one of their youngest birthdays ever. I believe the actual birthday is only coming next week. So this person is turning 80. He doesn't know that we're going to be singing happy birthday to him. But since we have a piano, we can all attempt to sing it on key. So without further ado, if we can have a cake for the very special gentleman in question. And if you can all join me in singing happy birthday to Mr. Tarun Das, who turns 80 next week. Knowing Mr. Tarun Das, this is not what he's expecting at all, and he's looking most disapproving. It's completely Kiran's fault. I had nothing to do with it. I'm just the don't shoot the piano player. There we go. So 1, 2, 3. So we'll do that once again after they come on stage. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, sir. Happy birthday. Thank you so much.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here for Mr. Rahul Bajaj's Ananta Aspen Ananta Award. And we're just bringing around some glasses so that we can have a toast to Mr. Rahul Bajaj. And as you might imagine, he could actually be watching us. So as soon as you all have a glass, Sati, come here. Come here, come here, come. So, ladies and gentlemen, to Mr. Rahul Bajaj. And Rahul, here's to you.
Bajaj.